Coming up, a North Dakota artist and museum director has a bold vision for the region, and Principal Chief of the Cherokee Nation, Chuck Hoskin Jr., has been re-elected. We visit with him. Plus, more on the Supreme Court affirming the Indian Child Welfare Act. I'm Aaliyah Chavez. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Arizona State University welcomes 3,500 Indigenous students from Arizona and across the nation. It serves one of the largest populations of Indigenous students among U.S. colleges and universities. We created a sense of place for tribal nations to create futures of their own making through community outreach and research, taught by world-class Indigenous faculty where they see a reflection of themselves and their experiences. Find community at ASU.
Amarawa Hopa, thank you for joining us and happy summer solstice. We start today with our continuing coverage on the sex abuse allegations involving the former Dances with Wolves actor Nathan Chasing Horse. Chasing Horse has been charged with new sex crimes in Alberta, Canada. That comes as he awaits a trial in a sexual abuse case in Las Vegas, Nevada. At a virtual news conference earlier this month, Sergeant Nancy Farmer said the Alberta case is largely symbolic. She said the warrants are important to get in the system so the victims are heard. Chasing Horse faces decades in a Nevada prison if he is convicted, and he may never return to Canada to answer to the new charges. The 47-year-old faces 9 charges in Alberta, including 3 counts of sexual exploitation and 4 counts of sexual assault. The alleged crimes date back to 2005, according to officials. Chasing Horse has declined media interviews, and his public defender, Christy Holston, said she had no comment on the new charges. Chasing Horse currently remains jailed in Las Vegas. Well, the actions of Interior Secretary Deb Haaland are under review by a House panel. Earlier in June, Republican members of the House Committee on Natural Resources raised concerns surrounding her connection to an Indigenous advocacy group. The members sent a letter to Haaland requesting documents related to her interactions with the Pueblo Action Alliance, as well as those of her child who has worked with the group. This concern came on the heels of Haaland's announcement to ban new oil and gas leases surrounding Chaco Canyon for the next 20 years on federal lands. The Interior Department said it had no comment on the letter. An exhibit that first opened at the National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. moved to Portland, Oregon, and now it's back home. Dakota Modern opened earlier this month in Brookings, South Dakota. ICT's Shirley Snavy has this report.
I want you to raise your hand if you had never heard of Oscar Howe before this exhibition. Right? All right. No one. Okay. So.
Born in 1915 on the Crow Creek Reservation, Oscar Howe redefined the genre of Native American art. And now visitors can see it in an unprecedented collection of his works, now fragile due to age and materials.
The show has been a long time in the making. And so we first learned of it when the curators and researchers who were working on the show visited to see our collection of Oscar Howe art. Later on, fast forward a couple of years and post-pandemic, we really started advocating for the show to come to the South Dakota Art Museum. So it could be here where Oscar Howe's relatives and family and the people that admired him could visit it.
When I went to college in 1978, I took a class and they were talking about Oscar Howe. And I was like, gee, that's Grandpa Oscar, I thought to myself. So I went home on break and I said to my Grandpa Edward, how come you didn't tell me Grandpa Oscar was like all famous and was an artist and a teacher? And he looked at me and he was all quiet and he said, because he never asked me.
The exhibition Continuum features the works of Oscar Howe's students.
So walking through this exhibit here is really bringing Oscar's spirit back into me again.
The exhibition closes September 17th. In Brookings, South Dakota, Shirley Snavy, ICT News.
In Colorado, an Indigenous Comic-Con festival is all the buzz this month. IACON is a new Native arts and crafts fair focused on expanding the idea of what Indigenous art looks like. Last week, the festival kicked off with music and performances ranging from comedy and poetry to heavy metal. It also included panels and vendors. One presentation featured a language revitalization robot designed to help Indigenous children learn their languages. Organizers say IACON is meant to bring people together while also expanding ideas of what Native people engage with and enjoy. Today is June 21st, which means people all over Canada recognize and celebrate the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. First recognized in 1990, National Aboriginal Day was a chance to acknowledge the many achievements of Native people north of the Medicine Line. This national holiday is usually celebrated with live performances, community feasts, and other events. In 2017, a proposal to officially rename the day to National Indigenous Peoples Day was made. The bill to make that change was debated by Parliament, but it never became a law. It's now known colloquially as National Indigenous Peoples Day. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. Joe Williams is one of 24 individuals whose bold visions are shaping communities around our region. He is a recent recipient of a Bush Foundation fellowship where he's aiming to bring life to his dreams in the next 2 years. Williams is currently the director of Native American programs at the Plains Art Museum in Fargo, North Dakota. Welcome, Joe, and congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Tell us about your plans as a Bush Fellow.
Well, I taking this time to sort of assess where I'm at professionally, and the work I'm doing right now, and how to sort of support that. And I think one of the things is to really dive deeper into my education. I have a bachelor's degree in American Indian Studies, and I have a master's degree in Fine Arts, and which is fine, but I definitely want to move into sort of community work. And so leadership programs, I've been looking into those, and Indigenous law studies is something I'm looking at getting my master's in. So I've been searching programs for that as well.
I understand that one of the other goals you've set for yourself is to learn more about laws that affect the creative economy. What kinds of issues are you discovering so far?
So there's a couple of things. Here in the States, we have the American Indians Arts and Crafts Act of 1990, and it really stipulates the definition of a Native American artist. And as an organization, we have to make sure that we are current within regulations and we are abiding by those laws. And the other part too is working in the art museum is repatriation is something that we are always looking at. And I find quite often I'm always looking into the CFRs and I'm looking into laws to make sure that we are sort of up on that we're current on those laws. And I think it's time that I really dive into a formal study to really understand this so I can sit at the table with professionals and sort of keep up and be able to sort of help guide those conversations in an informed way.
Youth education is something that you're also passionate about. What are some of the important things that you want Native youth to learn?
So I'm also a product of the Oscar Howe legacy. I attended the Oscar Howe Summer Art Institute from 1993 through 2007, both as a student and instructor. And, I want young people to know that, number one, there are generations of Native artists that came before them. And there are fine examples of those professionals that can really help lead them to their full potential. And so, I'm still involved with the Oscar Howe Summer Art Institute at the University of South Dakota. We have our own program here up at the Plains Art Museum that does the same thing, 2-week summer institutes that teach Native American students foundations of art and Native American art history. And I feel that an informed and supportive young Native youth can do really amazing things. And so that's really the long-term goal, is to build that network and that community to be able to support them.
I'm glad that we are talking about art because you're actually an artist yourself and an illustrator. What kinds of projects are you working on right now?
So Well, thank you for mentioning that. I'm a storyboard artist. So I have my Master of Fine Arts in animation with an emphasis on storyboards. And so I've worked on a few small films and hopefully move into television, as a storyboard artist, which, helps the pre-production process so that the stories are well defined out and the planning process really helps the production afterwards. And I've been doing that professionally for about 4 or 5 years now.
That is so exciting. I know that we've had other people on the show who talk about Native people in animation, and it seems as though the community isn't very large.
It's not. It is surprisingly small. And I think the exciting thing is that there's so much work out there. There's room for everyone, and I focus more on live action, although the training is through animation. And so, I encourage anyone who's interested into it is to, look into the schooling, look into to see what they can do to pursue that, because there's room for everyone. And we definitely need artists to be able to be in the industry, to not just represent us, but to really have fulfilling lives for themselves.
You, of course, are the Director of Native American Programs at the Plains Art Museum. What kinds of initiatives and projects are you working on at the museum that you'd like to highlight?
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, the museum's sort of like the day job, right? So, we do exhibitions. Right now we have a solo exhibition for Gerald Canoyer. This fall, we actually have an Oscar Howe exhibition at the Plains Art Museum too. So we're working with USD. And, the goal, of course, is to sort of infuse Native American art and identity with the full identity of Fargo, Moorhead area, or the region, right? That Native American Indigenous art is not sort of its own sort of side category, but we are infused with the identity of the area. So between, the exhibitions and the workshops, we bring artists in for community workshops. And then, of course, this Summer Institute, where we bring students in from across the country, paired up with Native American professional artists for a 2-week, really intense 90-hour studio hour program. And it's really successful.
People living in the Dakotas and Minnesota can apply for the Bush Fellowship next year. What advice would you give for those who want to submit their applications?
I would say really highlight the work that you've done in the past, right? It was really difficult for me to sort of talk about myself. I'm a Wapeto Dakota. It's hard for us to sort of boast about ourselves, but people really need to understand your story and what you've done and the partnerships that you've formed over those years. So be proud of what you've done and put it on paper and sort of, really try to figure out how to tell your story in a way that people will be able to understand where you're coming from. And so, I would say take the time and put that together and have people collaborate with you to make sure that you're telling your story in the best possible way for them.
Well, Joe Williams, congratulations to you again, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was Election Day earlier this month for citizens of the Cherokee Nation. Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. and Deputy Chief Bryan Warner were overwhelmingly reelected as the leaders of the largest Indigenous nation in the U.S. ICT's Pauly Denetclaw has this interview with Chief Hoskin.
Thank you so much, Chief Hoskin, for being here with us today on the Newscast.
Well, thanks for having me.
So, first, congratulations on your reelection to Principal Chief of the Cherokee Nation. Can you tell me a little bit about what it feels like?
Well, first of all, thank you for the congratulations. It feels good. I mean, the victory for me and for Deputy Chief Bryan Warner was by a significant margin, and geographically it was spread. And what that tells us is that, we've got approval from the Cherokee people to keep moving in this direction. But, we also learned something from the campaign, and we certainly come out of the campaign mindful that, there were concerns that we learned about. And so we have to, I think, do even better in the second term. So I'm excited about it.
And looking forward into your second term as Principal Chief, what are some of the things that you're looking to accomplish?
Well, first and foremost, we've got to continue and finish some of the projects we started. They're very ambitious projects that were always going to take more than one term. One is our hospital. It'll be the largest in Indian country. It's a $400 million investment that replaces a hospital that is too old and undersized and needed replaced. But finishing that, I think, is going to be really important. We have another health center in the community of Salina that we need to replace. It'll triple the size of the facility for that small community. But I think in the area of healthcare, what I'm most excited about in the second term is starting some behavioral health and drug treatment facilities, particularly drug treatment facilities. We locked down $100 million of opioid settlement money in recent years. We've got a plan over the next 5 years to build drug treatment centers and expand programs. So we really need to do that because there's a great deal of healing that needs to happen in that space. And I think we've got the resources to do it. Some other things that we're looking at, though, is the external threats to sovereignty. They remain for all of us across Indian country. We've certainly seen it at the Cherokee Nation, whether it was attacks on the gaming compact, whether it was the fallout from the McGirt case, making sure we seize those opportunities, but push back on efforts to undermine our reservation. So those things require constant vigilance. And then I think we're going to be looking at some new initiatives, particularly initiatives focused at the grassroots of Cherokee community. What can we do from the government side to help support that? So Deputy Chief and I are excited about it and looking forward to getting to work in the second term.
And looking forward as well, one of the things that is coming up this summer is the Indian Child Welfare Act decision from the Supreme Court. Is that something that the Cherokee Nation is concerned about?
It is. That's one of those external threats that I was referencing earlier. That decision, coming down any day now. And when it comes down, if it's on the side of fairness and justice, then the Indian Child Welfare Act will remain completely intact and we can move forward protecting Native children. If there is a undermining of the Indian Child Welfare Act, we know that could well be impactful for a great many other areas of federal Indian law. But just looking at the Indian Child Welfare Act, we will have to respond by pressing the Congress to restore whatever the Supreme Court might take away. And then we've got to look across the landscape at how that affects other areas. I mean, for example, in the Pacific Northwest, there's a court case that's attacking the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, and it's doing it on the precise basis that the attack against ICWA has been launched, or at least the core basis. So these are really important times for Indian country, and times in which we can see tremendous gains, such as under McGirt, but also times that we can see a pushback and an undermining of where we stand.
And what is one message that you have for your constituents and for members of the Cherokee Nation?
Well, elections can be divisive, and we know that that's part of democracy. In fact, it's part of the beauty of Cherokee democracy that we voice our opinions, but the election's over. And I think what people in leadership positions need to do, win or lose, is try to come together. And I think the Cherokee people want to see unity. I mean, if we agreed on everything, we wouldn't be a Cherokee, goodness knows that. But there are some core things that we can focus on. Language preservation, something I hadn't mentioned so far in our discussion, is something that Cherokees really have rallied around and can continue to rally around. And the good news is we're making a lot of progress. And so I think if we see ourselves as Cherokee people, and then more broadly as Native people on a mission to revitalize culture and language, make sure our history is taught correctly, and then make sure we're taking care of each other, I think the politics become less important and building up our nations become more important. So out of this election, I'd like us to focus on that.
Is there anything else that you would like to add, Chief Hoskin?
Well, one thing I would take out of this election is we saw a really high turnout compared to the last election, far short of where we need it to be in the Cherokee Nation. We're a large tribe, the largest by population, 450,000 citizens. Our turnout was 17,000. That's too low compared to what it could be, but it's actually a 24% increase from the last Chiefs race 4 years ago. So we're moving in the right direction, but I think we have to, as leaders, exercise some responsibility, accept some responsibility that we need to engage more with our citizens. So moving in the right direction, but let's get more people out to vote in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chief Hoskin, for joining us here on the ICT Newscast.
What
Both Chief Hoskin and Deputy Chief Warner are now set to serve another 4-year term. We'll be right back. Last week, the Indian Child Welfare Act was affirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court in the case Holland versus Brackeen. The ultimate hope of this landmark decision was meant to keep Native American families intact. Here to talk more about this is ICT regular contributor John Tasuda. Welcome back to the Newscast, John.
Thanks for having me again.
Last week, the Supreme Court upheld the Indian Child Welfare Act, nicknamed ICWA. For the people who might not know about it, can you explain what this case was about?
Well, so ICWA is a law coming out of the 70s, sort of the rebirth of Indian policy and engagement by the federal government, turning around from the termination period, and really an answer to, or the beginning of the answers to the boarding school situation and what had happened for years with children being taken from homes. They were being taken by state courts primarily and placed in foster homes almost exclusively with non-Indian families. And so we saw a lot of Indian children removed from their homes, removed from their communities, removed from their culture. And the law was intended to address exactly that. Again, in the 70s with the rebirth really of tribal governments, we saw tribal courts and systems in place that were an answer to state courts as being the only place that these decisions could come out of. And so the federal law really gave the tribes an opportunity to strengthen their own systems for dealing with these family law matters, but also required state courts to notify the tribes. Many of these adoptions and removals of Indian children happened without the knowledge of even grandparents and parents of children, and the tribes certainly didn't know. So it provided a real sea change for the tribes and for tribal communities.
John, what does this ruling mean for tribal sovereignty?
Well, so it's a far-reaching decision in many ways, I think, and the court deals with some foundational Indian law issues that were raised, challenges by the groups, as Chief Hoskins noted in the previous segment. They sort of attacked some of the foundational principles in which Congress and the United States deals with Indian tribes. But the case also went on to deal with some matters that are very specific to ICWA. And so I think the sort of win on all of those bases was great for Indian country. And on the larger picture, this sort of reaffirmation of these foundational Indian law principles, the power of Congress, the plenary power of Congress in dealing with Indian tribes, the trust responsibility that the United States has with tribes and with individual Indian people. Very important that the court pointed that out. These principles of plenary power and trust responsibility extend not just to the tribes as entities, but to Indian people individually as well.
I want to talk about the makeup of the Supreme Court. I was hearing from sources before this decision was released that a number of the justices either are adoptive parents themselves or have close relatives who are adoptive parents, and therefore were in a very unique position to decide this case. Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote the opinion. What do you think that says in terms of the makeup of the court?
I'm not sure. It's easy to speculate about personal feelings, but I know that members of the court and members of the federal judiciary in general generally are very professional about how they try to separate their personal lives from this professional side of themselves. But certainly it cannot help but impact how you view the world. And I think the story that was presented by the tribes. This long history of removal certainly had to have, an impact on those justices who consider how these things go forward. Now that cuts both ways. Obviously, it works well for those who want to see families held together, but those who've gone through, removal or adoption proceedings, sometimes it can be difficult. And the federal government inserting itself into this was certainly something that several of the justices, were uncomfortable with.
John, we heard earlier in our newscast that Interior Secretary Deb Haaland is under scrutiny right now regarding her decision on protecting Chaco Canyon for the next 20 years. What are your takeaways from that?
I think that it's something that she should take seriously. We have, in the last probably 20 years or so, taken a much harder look at these personal relationships that federal officials have, both in Congress and in the administration. And so I think that that's something that she should pay attention to. Every other administrative official is sort of held to that same standard. I have no idea whether there's any real impact from these relationships on decision making, but it's certainly something that needs to be in the public eye. I think also that it's something that she needs to consider, which is the trust responsibility that she has towards those individual lawtees, and whether she's coming at a decision that fulfills that responsibility to them.
Well, ICT regular contributor John Tasuda, thank you as always.
Thank you.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.